Oh my God. Oh my God. What is going on here? Oh my God.
In last week's episode, we traveled into the heart of China and witnessed 1,500 years of human craftsmanship that took shape in the magnificent and mighty Lomen grottos. In today's episode, we explore the majestic Song Mountain, one of China's 5 greatest mountains, and its renowned Shaolin Temple, where martial arts and Zen Buddhism were born. It's nature's beauty meeting mankind's finest work.
Alright, y'all, take a look at this. I made it. I finally made it here. It wasn't easy, but I'm at the Song Mountain. I'm at Mount Song here in Henan Province. You can see here I'm standing in the parking lot. The car just dropped us off, and I gotta tell you, it wasn't easy to get here, guys. It was not easy to get here. So this is going to be part 1 of what is going to be a 2-part series on the Song Mountain. This is one of the most famous mountains in all of China. And it's not just me that says it, because it's one of the 5 immortal mountains of China. Now I'm sorry about that noise in the background. You can hear we're in this parking lot. I'm trying to find the entrance, but it was a long car ride. I came here from the city of Luoyang, and it took about 2 hours in the car. And it wasn't easy to get here. And the reason I say so is because imagine going to Yellowstone. Imagine going to the Grand Teton. I mean, that is a huge national park, and this is what this is. Look at how large this place is. There are a total of 72 mountain peaks. A total of 72 mountain peaks. This mountain is gonna go at its highest point almost 5,000 feet in the air. So this is going to be an exciting day for us. We're going to find the entrance. We're going to get our ticket. I'm standing in the parking lot, and I'm going to explain what we're going to do, what our itinerary is, exactly what the plan of attack is, what we're going to see, why is this mountain so important. We're going to do all of that. But before we do, let's go to the entrance, get our ticket, and I will see you all in one tiny second. Alright guys, I just found this map, and I think this is going to be extremely helpful in understanding exactly what we're going to see. Let me get a nice and close view. So this is I wouldn't call it a village level, but it's probably what you would call a, how do you describe it? It's not quite a city, but it's also not a village. In the United States, we call that a suburbs, but here we call that, let's call it a town level city, okay? So this is the town level city that's here anchoring this entire tourist site that is known as Song Mountain, Mount Song. And this is going to be a good map that explains everything that we're going to see. Everything that we're going to see. We're here. And I like to divide this entire mountain into 2 pieces, because instead of me just rattling off names, saying this name and that name, and you can't keep track of, I'm just going to call it left and right. Left is west, right is east. We're going to get through, ideally, the left part of this, which is going to be focused on the Shaolin Temple. This is going to be the Shaolin Temple that we're going to be visiting today. I want to do some hiking, I want to do some mountain climbing, and then ideally on the way down, ride a cable car on the way down. So a little bit of introduction. We came all the way from Luoyang. So if this is the map, Luoyang is all the way up there, and it took us about an hour and a half, close to 2 hours, beating traffic and mountain roads, and we ended up here at the Shaolin Temple. And I think this is the map that's really going to be helpful. This map right here that you can see, this is the map of the Shaolin area. So remember, back then we had this map of left and right. Now we just have a map of the left side, the Shaolin area. We're here. We're here at the north entrance. So here it says north, entrance and exit. So we're here. We're gonna make our way around here, around to the famous Shaolin Temple, and then we're gonna see all of this, hopefully today. And then maybe we're going to exit on the south entrance. And I say maybe is because plans are being adjusted. Plans are being adjusted because this is such a large national park that you sometimes have to make it up on the fly. Because we didn't drive here, we're kind of at the mercy of where the car that we're going to order is going to pick us up at. So for example, if that car can't actually make it through the south entrance or the exit, we're going to have to meet this driver either back here or at another place that he or she designates. So, but this is going to be a very good map that explains what we're going to see. Now, if we come here, they got a nice English explanation about what we're going to see today. So this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and again, it's a national 5A level scenic spot. So that's the highest level it can get. 5A level scenic spots are the most important, most beautiful, most culturally and historically significant places in all of China. So this is absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So I originally wanted to come here. This was my original plan. I wanted to be dropped off here, and I actually wanted to climb up. So I think I originally wanted to come here, but the taxi driver was saying that one of the roads was closed. I look at the map, it was indeed closed. So I don't think he was being dishonest there. So we ended up getting dropped off here. My original plan was I wanted to climb up. I wanted to hike from here all the way up here and then take the cable car down towards here. That was my original plan, but I don't think that's going to work out. So we're gonna have to do a lot of walking to get here, and then we either walk here or we take the tram. That's my initial understanding of this place, and I think you'll see by the end of this video whether or not I'm right or wrong. And that's the thing about Chinese national parks. They're so large that you either drive here, or you saw that when we came here, we saw a lot of tours. So we saw a lot of tour groups that came here. You have a guide, you have a big bus that takes you here. I didn't have that. We took not quite a taxi, we took a carpool here. So we're gonna have to figure this out today as we go, but this is the plan of attack here. We're gonna see the Shaolin Temple, the Shaolin Scenic area. This is the key. And I think those of you who are a little bit interested or very, very much interested in Asian Chinese culture, you're gonna know about Zen Buddhism, you're gonna know about Shaolin, Wushu, right? The art of Kung Fu. This is what we're going to see today. It all originates around here. This is beautiful. I can't wait. Let's go and get our ticket. Let's go. And here's a really, really large statue of a Shaolin monk who's been practicing all his life the art of the martial art. We're gonna see all of this today. So here, the place that we're going into is the Shaolin Temple. But the Shaolin Temple is not going to be limited to just one temple. You walk in, you sightsee, and you walk out. It doesn't work like that. This is such a large national park that they're going to be totally spread out. However, the Shaolin Temple is going to be the central area of this entire place. And this entire place is only a small part of the Song Mountain. Very small part of the Song Mountain. So, super excited. I will say this. We're going to try to catch the performance. So they have martial arts performance by actual practitioners who are in the Shaolin Temple every single day. What we are going to do is try to catch one of them, but because of COVID, because of epidemic, because also this is now no longer peak season, they're reducing the number of performances that are available every single day. So we're going to have to time it right. So we want to combine hiking, we want to combine sightseeing, we even want to fly our drone a little bit, and then we also want to catch a live performance. So we're trying to do a whole lot today. So we got to do a bit of planning and get all this done. I got to go in and figure out exactly when the performance is today so that we can catch it. Okay, so now I got to get my ticket and we hopefully could just go right in without any issues. Let's go.
保持2米的安全距离，成人和60
Alright, y'all, I just got my ticket. It's 80 yuan for a ticket to get into the Shaolin Temple. And they have a performance in about 5 minutes. So I'm not sure if I'm going to make it, but I'm going to do my best. They're going to have at least 3 or 4 shows a day, and then even more during peak seasons. However, you have to understand that if you're coming here and you don't have a Chinese national ID, you'll have to go over there where I just was and use your passport to get a ticket, which has a QR code on it, and you want to keep that ticket because you're going to need it to enter the different places that are dotted all within this tourism area. Okay, so keep that in mind. Keep your ticket. Alright guys, we made it inside. We made it inside. It was pretty smooth actually. Now let me show you what the ticket looks like. Let me show you what this ticket looks like, because unlike other places I've been to, it's just a simple piece of paper. There's no graphics or anything like that. So you can see the ticket looks like this. It's a ticket that shows you the date and a QR code. Now we're going to probably miss that first performance because I don't want to rush it. It happens at 10:30 and it's already 10:28. So I just asked the ticket vendor some questions about exactly what's going on, and I think I have a good idea of what's going on now. Now, first of all, I have to reiterate this, because if you're coming here and you're a Chinese national, you have a Chinese national ID, you can just buy your ticket on WeChat. You don't even need to do all this. You don't even need to do what I had to do, which is I had to go to a physical booth, show them my passport, and get my ticket. See, you could just swipe your ID and then come in. So now that I'm inside, I realized that the Shaolin Temple and where the performance is actually not above the mountain, so I don't need to climb the mountain in order to see the performance. However, I will need to climb the mountain, either climb it on my feet or take the tram. Now, when I climb mountains in China, my plan of attack is usually I like to climb up and take the cable car down. So keep that in mind. I like to climb up and I like to take the cable car down. Wow, that was a mouthful. Okay, so now we're walking in. We're going to just first take our time and explore and figure out what exactly is going on at this place, because we don't have a guide, we don't have a tour. We're doing this on our own. It's just me and my camera guy. That's it. It's just the two of us. So we're gonna take it slow. I need to figure out exactly what the plan is. It's 10:30 in the morning. We'll probably be here until 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, which means we'll probably have to find some food up there. Let's see what kind of options they have up there. But here, if you want to buy an electric cable car, you could do that. You can get your ticket here if you don't want to walk. See, I don't do that. I walk. See, God gave me these 2 legs. I'm going to walk. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk to the foot of the mountain. Okay? Now, and when I say mountain, this is going to be a very, very all-encompassing word. Because, yes, the entire mountain is called Songshan. And there you go. Look at that. Just as I say that, there's a big sign ahead of me that says Songshan, Mount Song. Now, but what that really means is that this mountain is all-encompassing because it has over 72 peaks. So you don't know which peak you're on at any given time unless you've been here before or there's a big sign that tells you. So we're going to go to the foot of one of those peaks, and then we're going to go and see this performance. We're going to walk around, get to know what exactly is going on, what the history is, and then we're going to make our ascent up to the top of the mountain. We're going to make our ascent up to the top of the mountain. Now, the lady at the ticket booth, she was telling me that it's going to take me 4 hours. Think about that, 4 hours to climb up there. My God, that's a long climb right there. 4 hours, that's a serious hike. But I have a feeling that I could do it. I think I can do it in maybe 2.5, 3 hours. So this is a good legend here for everything we're going to see today. Hopefully we're going to try to see everything. Okay, everything you see here. And I think the Kung Fu Training Center is what she was referring to, where that first performance is. We're going to try to see Pagoda Forest. We're going to try to see this San Huang Zhai, means 3 emperor, 3 king this is where the 3 emperors live, I guess. I have no idea what's going on. I'm being honest with you. I have no idea what's going on. This is my first time here. I'm as new to this as you are. I've never been here before. So we're going to have to figure this out. But remember, we are on the left side of the mountain, on the west side. And we came here from Luoyang. The car ride here, it took about an hour and a half. We weren't really battling any traffic, but what we were trying to get through is these windy mountain roads, and there were quite a few trucks, transport trucks, that were blocking our way the whole time. And our driver, he was quite a navigator. He's a taxi driver in the city, so you know he knows how to navigate roads. He was cutting in, weaving in, out, in, out. He was trying to get us here on time. And then when he says, "We've arrived," I look around me, I see this big parking lot and nothing else. I'm like, "Are you sure we've arrived?" He says, "Yes, now get out." No, I'm just kidding. He was a nice guy. He told us to get out, and I looked at my map and I realized, okay, he wasn't able to take us to the southern entrance. That was actually where I wanted to go originally, is to go to the southern entrance. Because look, I even though I've never been here before, I kind of do have a plan for how I try to attack these things. I want to avoid crowds. I want to avoid big tour groups. I want to avoid all of this. So what I usually try to do is I go to somewhere they don't start, and I end at where they start. Does that make sense? So I know all these tours and all these individual groups, they're going to start here. So I was trying to avoid all that by going to the southern entrance, start there, make my hike, make my climb up there, and then take the cable car down here and exit where we entered. So that didn't work out because A, the taxi driver didn't want to take us there, and B, he was saying that the road was blocked and there was actually a closure indicator on the map that we were using. So we got off here, which is where the majority of the people, whether you're driving here, whether you're coming here on a tour, which is the majority of people where they start anyway. So we're not really losing anything, but we probably have to encounter a few more people than I would like. But again, this is a big mountain. Many, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of acres. 72 peaks in all. This is going to be an amazing day. We're going to enjoy this. We're really going to enjoy it. We're going to enjoy this hike. I brought my DJI drone. We're going to fly the heck out of it. I brought 2 batteries. We're going to make sure there's nothing left. I'm going to leave all the batteries out here. But also, I don't want to crash into the mountain, so I have to find a nice, scenic, high viewpoint. Oh, here's a little cat coming towards us. Hello, kitty. Hello, kitty. Look at this cat. Look at this cat coming towards us. Probably a little domesticated cat that one of the owners. Hello, hello. Ni hao, ni hao. Hello, hello. See, the cat ain't even, not even paying attention to me. Cat's used to seeing people. So now, we're going to go in and try to see exactly what's going on. We're gonna maybe see a little bit of performance, but I want to do you guys right and show you the whole thing, or at least part of it. So I'm gonna have to go see exactly what's going on. I have no idea, but I know that we're going to have an exciting day. So super pumped. Let's go in. Let's figure out what is going on today. Okay, so I just flew my drone. I went in the air with it, and I tried to figure out exactly what the lay of the land is. And I think I have it figured out to a certain extent. So we need to go straight and then make a right to get into this hosting facility. There are these large buildings going on. There seems to be some living quarters for the locals and some stores and all these things. We need to go in there. We need to make a right. And what we need to do is to further go in and I saw some roofs that struck me as temples. I couldn't quite see clearly. I didn't want to fly too close. So what I think is going on is that there's going to be some type of a temple structure right here at sea level. We don't even have to ascend. We don't even have to go up to the mountain to see this first location. As you can see here are some stores. You can get goods, you can get water, you can get tissues, whatever you need. Now, the plan for me is still very, very clear. I came here intending to climb the mountain. I came here intending to hike today. That is a non-negotiable. I'm here to hike today. Okay? So we're going to make our way up there. I'm determined. But we need to figure out exactly what is the right route. Because I think you guys are starting to see this is how Chinese national parks may be a little bit different from American national parks. If you've been to American national parks, you know you drive your car in. Sorry, it's a little bit loud here. But you drive your car in and you park right at the foot of a mountain, you hike up, you come down, you keep going. Everything in China is very, very well paved. So you can see here, every tourist facility, it's got paved roads, it's got management facilities, it's got stores. I know we have the same thing in the United States, but here it just feels more commercial, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that it just feels more managed. So the good thing about it is you won't run out of supply. The bad thing about it is you kind of have to follow the script that they write for you. You have to follow the route that they write for you. There are far fewer chances to just take a random hike by yourself on a hidden hiking map that so few people know about. So you probably have a less chance of doing that. And that wasn't what I came here for today anyway. I'm here to hike. I'm trying to understand what's going on. I'm here to hike. I'm here to see the Song Mountain, one of the 5 immortal mountains of China. This is what I'm here to see. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to make this hike, but I'm going to do it on the established route that they gave me. So that's what's going to happen. But I'm kind of curious if I'm going to see many people, because frankly speaking, many of the visitors that I see here, they strike me as retirees. They probably recently retired or been retired for a few years, and they're just traveling around the country, seeing this great, beautiful country. So I'm not sure if they're actually going to be making this very same hike that I'll be making. So I'm very curious how many people will be on this hiking route. So I guess we'll find out together in a few hours. But first, let's see what's going on here. All right, I'm standing at the gate. This says Shaolin Temple Wushu Museum. So this is going to be a place where they demonstrate their martial arts. And you need to also scan your ticket to get in. Remember I said earlier, don't lose your ticket. You're gonna need to scan it right here to actually get in. So let's go up there and see what happens. We're still at the foot of the mountain. We haven't climbed a single mountain step yet, but let's go in there and see what they have. I believe this is what the ticket vendor was telling me, that there's a performance here at 10:30, but this is not what we came here to see. We came here to see the performance in the actual Shaolin Temple by the actual monks who habitate, who live there 365 days a year. They live there, they learn. That's their life. We're gonna see a performance by them, but I'm gonna come up here and see exactly what's going on here and give you guys a nice tour of what exactly is going on. I know I keep saying what exactly is going on because I really am confused. This place is huge and I'm only at a small part of it. I'm just as confused as you are, guys. I'm trying to figure out what is going on here. So let's go in and let's get a nice view of what exactly is going on. Oh, before we go, look at this guy. He looks like he could kick somebody's butt. These are not 2 guys I want to mess with. That guy looks like he's a little bit older, but he's got more muscles than me. These are not guys you want to mess with. Let's go right in. Let's go right in. Let's scan our ticket and go in. All right, guys. I'm standing at the gate of what is it says performance, martial arts. The last word I don't recognize, but I recognize these 2. That one is Wu. That one is Chan. I recognize these two words. So it's actually very, very important because these two words symbolize Shaolin Temple. First, I'm going to go to the left here and show you this letter right here. This letter is Wu. This is the letter Wu. Oh, here's someone coming out, but here's the letter Wu. And what that means is that's martial arts. That's martial arts. And that's what the Shaolin Temple is known for. The 1983 movie called Shaolin Temple, that's literally the name of the movie. Shaolin Temple is what made this place famous. Jet Li, the great Jet Li, he became famous because of that 1983 movie, The Great Jet Li. He was very young back then. He was in his late, early, mid, one of those three, 20s. He was in his 20s, and that was the movie he became famous. Jet Li was actually a very, very renowned martial arts practitioner before he became an actor, and he was a mainland Chinese actor. And that was the movie he became famous by working with a company, a production company from Hong Kong. That movie is extremely important to Chinese history because it was one of the first times that a Hong Kong movie production company had filmed something with a mainland Chinese cast, and they filmed it right here at Song Mountain. And that's how Shaolin the Shaolin Temple, became famous. Now, if you look at here, this letter here is really important. This letter is Chan, and what that means is Chan Buddhism. So you probably don't know what that means, but Chan Buddhism is the same thing as Zen Buddhism. But the word Zen is derived more from the Japanese interpretation of what originated here, so that's correct. We're about to go in, but I had to get this point across of why we're here in Shaolin Temple. This is the birthplace. The Shaolin Temple is the birthplace of Zen Buddhism. The birthplace of Zen Buddhism. So now, not only are they good at martial arts and practicing martial arts and kicking people's butts, but they are also the original place where Zen Buddhism was born. This is over 1,000 years ago in the ancient dynasties of China, and we'll find out more about those today. But I think you just saw how many people went in through those gates. I don't know if my camera was able to capture that, but I gotta tell you, that's my nightmare right there. Just hundreds and hundreds of people packed into small spaces. That's what I try to avoid. I'm trying to avoid it all today, but we're gonna go in through this gate. But all this was packed with people just as I was speaking 10 seconds ago. So I'm not sure what exactly is going on in there. Is it a performance? Is it an art exhibit hall? Is it a relics hall? I don't know what's going on, but we're gonna go in and let's go find out exactly what is going on and what is there to see here. Let's go. All right, guys, I just figured out what's going on. So there's a performance here. This is a performance that they're going to put on, and I just made it in the nick of time. So I have to be quiet now, and they're going to put on this performance. I'm going to stand in the back here and not bother anyone. But you can see it's packed. It's full of people. Okay, I'm going to stand here, putting on a performance. So I finally figured out where we are. This is actually a
尊敬的各位来宾，现场所有的观众朋友们，大家上午好！欢迎大家来到嵩山少林寺武术馆观看功夫表演。距我们本场演出正式开始还有几分钟的时间，借此时间将现场创作。
All right, I stepped out for a second from this performance because before the performance starts, they're actually going to try to sell the audience something, and this time it's a calligraphy writing. So I've seen that a lot at quite a few places. In Chinese tourism spots. I'm not personally too interested in it, but I respect it. But I just want to take a second to explain exactly what this place is. So I just found out this entire facility that you just saw here, and we took a nice aerial view of it. This is the Wushu Training Center. So we're not at the actual temple. This is, in layman's terms, in the simplest terms, this is a school. This is a school. So they recruit students from all over China. They recruit students from villages, from cities, from towns, everywhere, all over China, all different provinces. They recruit them to become students of martial arts. And also, you can become a student here, even if you're an American, even if you're German, if you're Japanese. They take anyone. This is a martial arts school. The doors open to everyone. So essentially, we are at a school that's at the foot of the mountain, and they're going to give you a free performance of martial arts, and then you make your way up to the actual Shaolin Temple. So that's why so many people were going in. They were getting seated to try to grab a nice seat. This performance is going to start. I'll probably show you pieces of it. I don't know how long this performance is, but I'll probably show you pieces of it. And then we're gonna make our way up the mountain. Once this performance is finished, let's make our way back in there. They're probably getting close to finishing up this calligraphy writing. If you're interested, that's what it looks like.
相信这幅作品呢，能够引起我们无数人情感上的共鸣。在少林寺的诸多兵器中，棍是最传统也是最盛名的兵器。早在隋末唐初，少林寺的13棍僧。
All right, so the performance is starting now. These guys look really young. They must be students here at this training center. They all have the same hairstyle too, so that must be the mandatory haircut for this school. Oh wow, this is a really young guy here.
朱弟子为大家展示的是两小精悍的虚武兵器双柄手。
I think he could kick my butt. I feel like he could whoop me. I feel like he could whoop me. This kid in the middle. Oh wow. Oh wow.
现在我们欣赏到的是少林绝技一套拳。拳法是少林功夫的基础，也是少林功夫的精髓。它是历代弟子们间的必修之道，这是传统拳的展示。
Wow, this is amazing. The level of coordination, this is amazing. These are not guys you want to see in a street fight. They would kick my butt in a second. Oh my god.
再次提醒各位兄弟。
Now, I'm not gonna lie, part of me thinks that I should be using this time to make my climb up the mountain while all these people are here enjoying the show. But I'm so entranced by this performance, I'm so fascinated by it, that I'm just standing here and I can't leave. I'm enjoying this with you guys as well. Hopefully you guys like it too. But this is amazing. These guys are all students here. I just confirmed with one of the employees I was walking by. These guys are all students here. They live here year round. They train, they study here, and of course they study martial arts. So they're dedicating their lives to this art, to the performance, to the history, and I got a lot of respect for these guys. So hopefully we'll see more of them up there when we go into the actual Shaolin Temple.
如花似锦，阿堆锦之名由此得来。
You know what's really interesting? I'm looking at what they're wearing, and I think this is indicative of their grade. As in, what grade are you in school? Like, what level have you reached? I mean, if you look at their clothing, some of it, two of them towards the front are wearing a deeper color of yellow, almost orange. The other guys are just lighter yellow, lighter shades of yellow, and the kid in the middle and in the far back left, he's wearing a white vest. And they look the youngest too, so I think their uniform has some kind of meaning about how old they are, what grade they're in, and what their level of mastery of Wushu and Shaolin is. So that may be something to keep in mind. Oh wow.
创出的一套风格独特的拳法。
Oh wow.
首先我们欣赏到的是少林的猴拳。猴拳是象形拳中最具代表性的拳法。
So he's doing the monkey dance. He's doing the monkey style wushu. This is the monkey style. This is a very, very famous style, the monkey style. The one that I know of is the drunken style. If you watch the Jackie Chan movie, very, very early Jackie Chan movie, The Drunken Master, I believe there's two of them. I don't think they'll be doing that here. I don't think the kids are going to be drinking in front of this show. So we'll have to save that for another day. Wow.
少林蛇拳。
Oh, okay, this is the snake. This is the snake dance. Look at that. See, the snake dance to me is just that's the electric shuttle right there. That's just a. Oh, this is the frog style. It's the frog style. Imagine you getting into a street fight with someone and you just bust out the frog style. Look at that. See, no one's gonna mess with you if you get out the frog style. Oh wow. Amazing. That's the scorpion style. So he was doing the scorpion style. You see how he's making the tail of the scorpion? You see what he? Oh wow. See, this is another must-have. If you ever get into a fight, this is a must-have. Amazing. Oh wow. That was incredible. Wow, that was amazing. That was incredible. And I think what's even more incredible about it is just how young these kids are. You know, when I was their age, I was hitting them books. I was hitting the books. And I think that's what most kids are doing. But you know, they're dedicating their life. They're dedicating their life to martial arts. So tons of respect for that. Tons of respect for that. They're now taking volunteers, but they're limiting the age of up to 16 years old. So unfortunately, I don't qualify.
有没有？大家不要心存功利。来，我们有请这边3位朋友是吧？来，第1位、第2和第3位朋友。如果说2位朋友是一起的话，上来1位就可以了。
Oh, she said 60.
时间关
I
系。
thought she said 16.
那么
I was like, this guy's way too young to be raising his hand.
的确，我们只有。
All right, we got 3 volunteers.
带我始终而始少林，属于大学家。
哎，你们刚才表演的好好，你们刚才表演的好，谢谢谢谢，
你们真的是少林寺
真的太厉害了，你表演的好好，你表演的好好，谢谢谢谢谢谢，你们表演的好好，你们是学生吗？啊，你们是学生吗？都是，非常好非常好，表演的非常好非常好，谢谢谢谢，谢谢谢谢谢谢谢谢，再见。All right, so I just saw some of these kids that were making their way, and I just want to express my thank you for them putting on such a great show. They put on such a great show. 哎，你好，你好，你们表演的非常好，你们表演的非常好，谢谢，谢谢，谢谢，谢谢，谢谢，谢谢，表演的非常好，谢谢，谢谢，谢谢，再见。All right, I just saw these kids again. I must have met like 6 or 7 of them. Oh my God. Oh my God, what is going on here? Oh my God. 你好，你好，你好，你好厉害，你好厉害，谢谢，谢谢。All right, now we're here. So I think I kind of figured out exactly what's going on here. They have a hotel. They have a hotel up here. Look where I'm pointing. And then they got a restaurant. And then all the kids live here. And then there's a museum here. But we really got to make time because I said to you guys, I'm going to make my way up that mountain. It's already close to noon. I gotta do it. I gotta start making some ground. So we're gonna get out of here and we're gonna start climbing that mountain. And if the next scene, we flip it to me sitting on a cable car, then you know that we didn't have enough time. But let's try to make it up there, okay? Let's go, let's go. All right, guys, we've now left the training center. And as you just saw, I saw a couple of the students that did the performance. gave them some thank you. And I just found out that they live indeed at the school. This entire place is a facility. It's a school. And I've repeated this many times, but I just want to say it again. Anyone can come here and be a student. If you're from somewhere in China, if you're somewhere overseas and you want to learn martial arts, they take students. They take students who come here, who have the potential to become a great martial artist. You live here year-round, you do your training. It is tough work, it's hard work. But what we're doing now is we left the training center, and I think this path has to end somewhere, because I've been walking here for almost 10 minutes. Oh, look at this bird. Look at that bird, beautiful bird. Do you know what that is? That's a beautiful bird. Anyway, we're now walking towards what I hope will be the entrance to the ascent up to the Song Mountain. So this whole time, we've been talking about the Shaolin Temple. We've been talking about martial arts. We've been talking about Zen Buddhism, right? This Shaolin Temple is indeed the birth of Zen Buddhism. An Indian monk had came to this mountain. He had lived here, and he had spread Zen Buddhism here. He was one of the founding fathers, and he is actually buried here as well, if my knowledge is correct. But let me talk a bit more about the Song Mountain, Mount Song. Why is this such an important place? It's been on my bucket list for many, many years. It's been on my bucket for many, many years. Bucket list, not my bucket. I don't have a bucket, but on my bucket list for many, many years. Why? Because this is one of the 5 immortal mountains of China. Doesn't that name just sound fearsome? One of the 5 immortal mountains of China. And they are all based on a direction. So what do I mean by that? It's the north, south, east, west. These are the 4 directional mountains, and there's one in the middle. This is the middle mountain of the 5 immortal mountains, the 5 great mountains of China. This is Mount Song, Songshan. And why is it the middle mountain? Well, geographically, it's actually in the middle of all 5 of these mountains. It's in the middle part of China. It's right in the middle. So that's why it's the middle mountain. Now, Zhongyue, that's what it's called. Zhong means middle, Yue is the mountain. So why is this mountain so important? And why are these 5 immortal mountains so important? How are they different from mountains that you see back home in the United States, in Europe, in other parts of the world? How are they different? Well, when you come to a Chinese mountain, especially one of the 5 immortal mountains, you gotta understand that you're not coming here just to climb. You're not just coming here to do a hike. You're coming here to learn history, because these mountains have been revered by the people that lived here for hundreds of years, thousands of years. They didn't just become one of the 5 immortal mountains overnight. It wasn't like a local mayor or a local governor said, this is one of the 5 major mountains. No. These are mountains that have been worshipped and revered by people from thousands of years ago. Emperors came here. They held ceremonies. They prayed for bountiful harvest. They prayed for no natural disasters. They prayed for peace, for harmony, for victory. Okay, so 5 immortal mountains. And why is Mount Song so unique, so important? Well, you have to understand that this is a place. Now I'm going to come a little bit closer to this place here. But this is a place, okay, where Buddhism, Taoism, we're getting very close, by the way. We're getting very, very close, 300 meters. So just about a quarter of a mile, a little bit less than that. We're getting close. But this is a mountain where Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, from Confucius, they all coexist harmoniously. That's why this mountain is so important, because you could see a little bit of everything, right? The Shaolin Temple is clearly a descendant of Buddhism, early Chinese Buddhism that had spread its way from India by an esteemed Indian monk. He had come here and spread Buddhism. However, there are also many, many Taoism temples, okay? So many Taoism temples. And also, you have Confucian institutions that teach you legality, the right way to govern, the right way to treat people, the right way to conduct yourself. All 3 of these things are living harmoniously. They don't have any sex. They don't have any, when I say sex, I mean they don't have any conflicts with each other. They don't have any problems with each other. They coexist harmoniously here. So Mount Song, if you're talking about height, perhaps it's not the highest mountain. It's nowhere even near the highest mountain. That'll be the Mount Everest. There are mountains higher than this, but it's the history. Which emperor came here? And more importantly, what was discovered here? That's right. The only, and I repeat, the only piece of personal, movable item ever attributed to the only female emperor of China, Wu Zetian, was found at the Song Mountain many, many decades ago by a farmer who was on his way up to look for medicine. He was looking for herbal roots to make Chinese medicine. And this is many decades ago when roads like this weren't even paved, when this tourism spot didn't even exist, when this wasn't even a national park. A farmer found the only personal item, the only non-statue, non-tombstone, non-object, when I say object, I mean building, the actual piece, the only piece in Chinese history that's associated with the only female emperor of China, a solid gold tablet. I repeat, a solid gold tablet where Wu Zetian is pleading to the gods for forgiveness. Well, she was Buddhist, so she was pleading to the Buddhas, to the heavens, for forgiveness for the sins that she had committed in order to attain power. So this is Mount Song. It is so rich with history. I can't even begin to do it justice with just 2 or 3 minutes, 5 minutes of introduction. But that's why this mountain is so important. This is one of the 5 immortal mountains of China. We're gonna do all of them, but this is where we start. This is where we're gonna make our mark. This is where we're gonna start. And I'm so excited to begin this journey with you. My only concern today is it's gonna take me at least 2.5, 3 hours just by foot to physically climb up the mountain. 3 hours easily. And then we stop, we rest, we film, we narrate. Boom, 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 boom. Next thing you know, 5 hours, 4 hours has gone by. I do need to make it down here before nightfall because we need to get back to the city of Luoyang. So now we need to find what is the best way to approach this entire place. I have to figure out a game plan. And even an hour and 2 hours into it, I still haven't figured it out. I'm very honest. I gotta tell you, I haven't figured out how I'm gonna approach this, but I've got to figure this out. I've got to figure this out, and it looks like we're finally approaching the temple. This should be the Shaolin Temple. I have to be respectful. I have to keep my voice low. This is not a place to be shouting and yelling and disturbing other people. I have to be very respectful here. I have to be very, very respectful here. So we're going to see the famous Shaolin Temple. This is it. Google it. 1983. Jet Li. Shaolin Temple. Shaolin Si. The great Shaolin Temple. We're here. We're standing right in front of it. You can see it right now already. Look at that sign. Shaolin Temple, Shaolin Si. I can't believe it. All my life, ever since I was a boy, all these things that you grow up accustomed to. Dragon Ball. You watched Dragon Ball growing up. That was derived from Shaolin. Where do you think Goku came from? Where do you think his haircut style came from? Here. Shaolin Soccer. Stephen Chow's movie. Where do you think it was based on? The Shaolin. Here. We're here. We're about to go in. Let me find out what's going on. Let's go in. Alright guys, we're making our way into the Shaolin Temple. Now, I have to be very, very clear. I have to be very respectful because this is a Buddhist, this is a religious place. This is not a vacation spot. This is a religious place where you come and you pay your respect to the various religious elements, the Buddhism here, the hard work that the people put in. So I'm going to be very, very respectful when I'm filming. And when I'm not allowed to film, I'm not going to film. Okay, so we have to be very, very careful not to disturb anyone. So let's go in, and let's see what we have. Let's go in. All right, we're making our way into Shaolin Temple now. We just had our ticket checked, and I just heard that we are supposed to step on these flower petals, these lotus flower petals, petals exactly 7 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of them for good luck. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Well, I'm going to wait for these people to pass first. But here, Shaolin Temple, a bit of an introduction first. Built first in 495, so over 1500 years ago during the Northern Wei dynasty. The Northern Wei, if you're not familiar with my channel or some of my earlier episodes, the Northern Wei dynasty is a dynasty, a regional dynasty, a regional empire that existed in China for only a couple hundred years, a couple dozen years actually, maybe not even a couple hundred years, maybe even less than that. But what they did is they controlled parts of northern China. That's why it's called the Northern Wei. And they were actually founded and ruled by what is considered today in China a ethnic minority. Their people had the bloodline of the Xianbei people, which is related. They are related to the modern day Mongolians, the people of Mongolia. Okay, so people of the grasslands, living on the grass thousands of years ago, relying on horses, relying on sheep and cows. They were expert at shooting arrows, they were expert at riding horses, and they were extremely effective at covering long distances. So the Xianbei people, they were the rulers of the Northern Wei, and they ruled over this entire region. Their official capital was at first in Datong in China, in Shanxi province, and then they moved it here to Luoyang in Henan province. Now, before I continue further, let me do my 7 steps here. Let me find a good clean 7 steps, because some of these have some marks on it. But let me find a clean 7 steps, and let's get some good luck. Let's start here, okay? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, now I get off. Okay, so I've just stepped here for 7 steps. And as you can see here, the Shaolin Temple is a series of temple structures. You have the main door that I came in. Okay, this is the main door. And also, in case you were wondering, hey, monkey, weren't you supposed to be climbing the mountain? What are you doing here? Well, I just realized that the Shaolin Temple is at the foot of the mountain. So we're actually going to visit here before we climb, so that we can ensure that if we take too much time climbing and when we come down, this place may be closed to the public. So I have to be very, very careful to manage my time. Also, I'm gonna go over to the other side, but I'm not gonna step on these flower petals anymore. You can see, this is the main door that I came in through. They checked my ticket. And if you understand Chinese temple structures, it's going to be layer after layer, hall after hall. And at every hall, you're going to see a step, a very large step, a piece of wood, a piece of stone. And the custom here is if you're male, you step over it with your left foot. If you're female, you step over it with your right foot. And you can see here are more buildings right there in the distance, and there are more doors. This is the exit. This is for people who have made it through every single hall and they're now leaving. We're going to continue to make our way up and see the different halls. Now, you have to understand that the buildings that you see here, they are not original Northern Wei dynasty building. In fact, even the Qing and Ming dynasty people didn't even live to see the original building. That's because, as is the case with so many different historical buildings in China, because there's been so much human activity, they've been destroyed. They've been destroyed by war, by fires, by earthquakes, then they get rebuilt. And oftentimes, they get rebuilt in the same fashion and style that it was originally modeled after. But you have to understand, this entire complex here is likely a little bit larger than what the original Northern Wei founders built. I mean, I'm seeing at least 7 or 8 buildings, halls, towers here. Okay? But the Northern Wei people, they probably built 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6, and eventually it was destroyed, and eventually it was rebuilt and destroyed and rebuilt, and now this is what you see, a modern interpretation of what Shaolin Temple looks like. Let's continue to make our way in and see what we have. But again, I'm going to be very respectful. Film where I'm allowed to film, not film where I'm not allowed to film. But this is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. And you know, I have to be very honest when I say this. This is not. I'm here and I'm admiring all this, all the Shaolin temples, okay? I'm admiring everything here. Respect. I'm admiring everything here, remember? Left foot if you're a male, so I'm gonna take my left foot. Good. Okay, so you have to remember that I've seen many different temples in China. This is not the first temple I've seen. But what's so unique and special about this place is because the kid, the child in me, remembers all the martial arts movies I watched as a young boy growing up. Shaolin, the good guy kicking the bad guy's butt, standing up for those who can't protect themselves, the way, the principle, the training. And then, you watch Dragon Ball as you get a little bit older. They got that from Shaolin. You watch Shaolin Soccer, the famous Stephen Chow movie. And yes, the great Jet Li movie, 1983. And what you remember is just the sheer dedication, the willpower to be great, to be disciplined, to be a force for good. And it's like when you're a young boy, you didn't even know this thing existed. You didn't even know this temple existed when you were a boy, but now that I've gotten older and I've had a chance to travel all over the world, I realize that this is an actual place. And that's what makes this place so special. It's not that I haven't seen temples before. It's not that I haven't paid my respects to temples before. I haven't seen different buildings, different halls. I've seen plenty of buildings. It's the history. It's the why that makes this place so special. That's why I'm so excited to be here. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna try to sneak in a little listen here to give you guys some better information. Okay, because they have a lot of different plaques here, and I'm sure many of them are quite old. So let's see what they have to say. I'll check right back in to see if I can glisten some very helpful information to give you guys. Stay tuned. Alright guys, you can see there are a number of large stone steels everywhere in front of this main hall here. Let me not be mistaken, I think it's the main hall. There may be, oh wow, I think there's actually more back there, so this may not be the main hall. But there are 4, I count 1, 2, 3 on that side, and there should be another one in the back. So yes, 6 total steels, all made out of stone here. But I wanted to focus on 2. This one right here is built in the Qing dynasty. Again, this speaks to why. Song Mountain is so important because of the number of emperors in antiquity that have made their way here to pay their respects. And when they make their way here, they gotta stop at Shaolin Temple. Now, this is before any movie, this is before any social media, but they know how important the Shaolin Temple is because throughout Chinese history, you have emperors that believe in Buddhism. You have emperors that don't believe in Buddhism. So the ones that support Buddhism, they usually come here and they come to this temple because they know it's one of the founding places of Zen Buddhism, and they give some money, some coffers from some money and some funds from the state coffers to help it build, maintain, hire, these type of things. Get food, provisions, these all take money, even in antiquity, even in ancient times. And why is this one so important? Because on the upper left corner, you can see those 2 words on the very top, Da Qing, and then 2 more underneath, Qianlong. So this is from the Qianlong Emperor of the Qing dynasty. He was here, and you see this is a large stone statue here. He was here. And also you saw another right here. Those 4, I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but right around there it says Henan, which is the province that we're in today, and it says Fen Xun, the Xun. So what Qianlong Emperor liked to do is he liked to make inspection tours all throughout the country. Royal. I mean, he didn't do it disguised as a commoner. He did it as the emperor. And he liked to travel all across the vast lands that the Qing dynasty had built up, and he liked to see how the people were living. Alright, now that we understand a little bit more about the Qianlong Emperor, take a look at this stele here. Okay, there are actually words that are carved all over it. If you take a look, there are clearly words carved all over it. This stele is even older than the one that we saw earlier. This is from the Ming dynasty. a Ming Dynasty emperor had visited Mount Song to pay his respects on an inspection tour, and he left this stele here. Now, he didn't personally carve it. He likely wrote the words, and the workers here, the artists here, built this stele using the exact calligraphy that the emperor had left. And if you look at the far left-hand corner right here, this is how you know, because the first two letters up there, if you can see it closely, the first two letters up there, it says Huang Ming. So Huang means king, sovereign, emperor, right? And the second word Ming is the Ming Dynasty. So this plaque has over 600-700 years of history. Very, very old, but you can still see the words very, very clearly here. And also what's important and what's really important here is that this writing is identical to the way that Chinese words are written today. This is the letter Song for the mountain that we're in today, Song, and this is Shao for Shaolin Temple, Song Shao. This is indicating the Song Mountain Shaolin Temple. So it's just remarkable that even words from 600-700 years ago still consistently used today by Chinese people in their writing language. This is absolutely beautiful. Now, I'm going to go up there to just give you a brief look, but I am going to be respectful because I see a lot of people praying. So I'm just going to give you a brief look and I'm going to move on. Okay, guys, that was a temple that we just saw. Hey, and this is good. So this right here is the drum tower, and anytime you have a drum tower right across over there, all the way back there, you can't see it, it's being covered by some trees. That's the bell tower. That's the bell tower. So they always come in pairs. But drum and bell towers, hallmark, every must have for every. I just stepped on some grapes. But must have for every single temple. If you want to be a temple, you got to have some towers, and you got to have the main hall, and you got to have some halls that lead into it. If you look at this architecture here, it's traditional Chinese architecture, but it reminds me more of Qing Dynasty, Ming Dynasty style. But these roof styles here, the way these buildings are supported, this is derived from very, very early Chinese architecture. This is Qing Dynasty, Tang Dynasty architecture, very, very early. They don't use any nails. It's all being supported by the way that the wood pieces are cut and connected together. Now, if you look at this hall right here, it's actually surrounded on the sides by additional halls. And I mean, even in the sense that we're in a Buddhist hall, so you know they don't serve any meat here, but I believe it's possible for you to grab a bite, have a meal here, similar to the way that the monks, the actual inhabitants of this place, live and eat. So that's possible. Oh wow, this is really cool. I've never seen this before in any Chinese temples. This is really cool. I'm not quite sure what this is. Wow, I've never seen this before, but it must be some type of either a ceremony or a sign of respect. Let me get a little bit of a closer view. Wow. This is amazing. So they've hung up these 6 pieces of I don't even know what you call it, but we're now on the back of the temple, and these 6 clothing headgears are glued onto the wall, attached to the wall here. Wow. Okay, let's move on. I don't know what to say. I don't know what this is, but I just know that it looks amazing. I have nothing to say. I'm at a loss for words. Alright guys, we're now at the second hall. We're standing in front of the second hall, and this one looks
a bit older, and you could see architecturally is a little bit different. So you don't see any paint. Right? It's just natural wood color with some veneer on it. So natural wood color with veneer, but if you look here at the hall that we just entered, look at that. That has paint. But I just listened to the tour guide explain to me what this is. Well, she didn't explain it to me. She explained it to the people who paid for her services. But I sat there and listened anyway. So this right here is where the monks of the Shaolin Temple during antiquity, this is what they used to grind up their cereal. So you think about rice, wheat, barley. This is what they used to grind up their food in order to eat. You gotta understand, this is a fully self-sustaining facility here. There's no delivery food. They gotta cook, they have to grow, and they have to process. Everything stays in-house. And you see this big, large iron bowl here. There's a big story behind it. This large iron bowl here was built during the Ming Dynasty. This is a cooking bowl. Alright, this right here is actually a cooking. This is used for cooking, a cooking pot. This is made out of solid iron. Solid iron. And this is from the Ming Dynasty. This is from the Ming Dynasty because here it says Wanli 4th year. This is from the Wanli Emperor of the Ming Dynasty. And it tells you here that it's 1300 jing, which in today's terms would be about 650 kilos. 650 kilograms. But that's assuming that the ancient people defined the jing as the same way we do today, which is 500 grams. But this is used to make vegetable dishes. They had another one that was 3 times as big as this that was used to make rice. This was used to make vegetable dishes. Wow. 650 kilograms right here. Unbelievable. Alright, there's quite a few people gathering there in front of that big iron bowl. But I wanted to explain some more fascinating facts. Because, I mean, the story that I heard was just so fascinating. So there were actually 2 of them. The one used for making rice was 3 times as large and is also made out of solid iron. So if this one is 1300 jing, 650 kilos, that one is even bigger. It's 3 times as large. And what happened to it? It was melted. It was melted in 1958. It was melted in 1958 in order for them to salvage iron. The country needed iron at the time, and what they were doing is they were melting all kinds of antique, ancient iron pieces, and they melted 3,900 jing of this. So this is the only one that's left. This is the only one that's left. And how they actually made the dishes. This is why it's so important and why I wanted to explain this story, is how they actually made the dishes. So I'm going to use my hand to try to illustrate this. There will be 2 pillars. 1, 2, and there will be another pillar up top. And the monk, there will be a monk who actually uses his feet to hang like a bat. You imagine a bat that's hanging from a cave. This monk will be hanging over this pillar that's here, and his head will be looking into this bowl that he's cooking with. So you think about, why is he doing this? That's because he's training at the same time. Exactly. Everything they're doing, whether you're carrying large buckets of water, whether you're cooking, this entire place is a training. In all of antiquity, it was a place to train. So even when he was actually cooking, he was training. Think about the amount of leg muscles that's needed to do this. This is why this is such an important story. So just by looking at it, you can't tell, but that's what these tour guides have been explaining this whole time. There was a guy that was hanging here like a bat, and he was cooking for the entire institution. He was cooking for the entire temple. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And it's very fortunate that this one actually was saved and it made it all the way through the Ming Dynasty. So you think about Wanli Emperor. I can't recall on the top of my head what time period he ruled, but it had to be at least 1400 years ago. So that's a piece that's got quite a bit of history. I'm going to continue to make my way up. Again, I'll be respectful of this temple. I'm going to make my way up and give you a brief look of what this place looks like, and then we're going to keep moving forward.
第一次呢是为了救齐王李世民所烧的，第二次明末看一下啊，这个大殿里边，大殿里边供奉了一尊涅槃像。什么叫涅槃呢？公主要去世的这个涅槃。
So I wanted to mention here that if we zoom in a little bit closer on the way these pillars are built to support the roof, you look at that art. That is art. That is architectural art right here. All of this going on. So that's a little bit different from the first hall that we just saw. The first hall had thinner pieces, much thinner pieces. This is thicker, so this is getting very close to what Tang Dynasty architecture looked like. The actual Tang pieces, the very few that are still available to be seen and not destroyed, they're all in Shaanxi Province, and those pillars are going to be much thicker than this, even thicker than this. I wouldn't say much, let me take that back. Not much thicker than this, but quite a bit thicker than this. How this works is that wood is stacked on top of each other without a single nail being used. So you're relying on wood on wood, and you see those pieces, that requires the wood to be cut so precisely that all the individual pieces have to fit together like a Lego. You use gravity. You're using gravity to keep everything in place. No nails, no modern power tools, no electricity. This is ancient Chinese architecture. This is how you build without using any steel, without using any iron, without using any modern tools. This is absolutely amazing. All right, as we continue to make our way in, we just left the second hall. So we're making our way further inside now. Now you may be wondering, why don't I film what's inside the hall? Well, I kind of do a swipe through it so you can get an idea of what's inside. But out of respect, there's usually, almost always, Buddhism, Buddhist, Buddha statues in there. And I don't want to disturb them. I want to be very respectful. There's no employee telling me not to film, but just out of respect to this place, this amazing place, this historical place, I want to be very careful and not disturb any Buddhist spirits. I don't want to offend anyone. But here, check this out. Amazing. This is the back of the second temple. So we're now standing on the third temple. So I'll have to say this again, but in Chinese temple structures, you're going to see this in every single episode. I'll talk about it in every episode where we're looking at Chinese temples, that the way they're built is all about layers. Layers on layers and layers of hall. So we just passed through 2 halls. This is the second one. See, I was very naive in thinking that the very first hall that I saw, because of how grand and how large it was, that it was the last one. That's not true. There are many more. There may be 10 more back there waiting for me, and I wouldn't even know it. But here, this is the second hall, and this one is closed. This door is locked, but you can see much more up there. Much more up there. Wow. And also, every hall, usually on the sides, they're flanked with different individual halls, left and right. In this case, this one is not open, okay? But this one has not only 2 halls to the sides, you can see one here, and then one here, right across over there, but there's another one here. There's another one here. So it just shows you how large this place is. This place is absolutely humongous. It is absolutely humongous, and it's starting to strike me that I'm going to be here for a couple hours. This is going to take some time to see it all, but let's continue to make our way in. Do you guys see the backdrop of the Mount Song Hills? You see those peaks up ahead of us. We now just passed through the 3rd hall, and I'm now looking directly at the 4th hall. Wow, look at that. Now again, the architecture here changed a little bit again. If you look, I'm going to zoom in here. Much smaller. And also you look at the tiles, green ceramic roof tiles, painted, glazed. That's beautiful. But this building here is a modern interpretation. This is a modern building here for people to come here and worship.
Okay, so the guide was saying earlier, and I did my research as well, this temple was built during the Northern Wei dynasty as mentioned, okay, but it received a big boost from one of the great Tang dynasty emperors, Li Shiming. Okay, that's the Taizong emperor. Okay, so apparently the monks here, they had helped the emperor, they had helped the Tang dynasty with putting down rebellions, because you gotta understand, these monks, these warriors, they're very trained in martial arts, and ultimately martial arts is about protecting yourself, protecting those who can't protect themselves. But in the case of war, in the case of conflict, martial arts can come in quite useful. So they made a great contribution. They made a great contribution to the emperor, and the emperor paid his respect and gave his support to Shaolin Temple in return. So this is one of the great emperors that's associated with Shaolin Temple from the great Tang dynasty. And unless I'm mistaken, this should be the last hall, because I see that door is closed. So we've gone through 4. This is the 5th hall. Let me go and take a look at the left here. See if that door is open. Okay, that door is also closed, so indeed we should be at the last hall here. I had to make my way back to this 4th hall, this 4th temple, because I just realized the importance of this particular hall. This one is dedicated to the Indian monk, to an Indian monk who had made his way to Shaolin Temple here in Henan, deep in interior China, many hundreds of years, over 1,000 years ago, to spread what would later become the basis of Zen Buddhism. And here you have a very large statue of him right here. So I had to come here and show you guys this. I had to go back and do a better job of filming and explaining, because this is such an important piece, such an important part of what we see in today's modern Shaolin Temple. So this man here came from India. He made his way all the way from India to spread Buddhism, and that planted the seed for what would become this great place. He lived here, he visited here, and he spread his gospel. Now, what I think was really interesting about this, really interesting about this, is you have this Indian monk here. He's sitting on an elephant, which is something that you always associate and see with traditional Indian culture, traditional Indian Buddhism, right? But yet, such is the respect that the locals have paid to him, that they gave him a dragon. See, sitting on top of a dragon's head, but he's not actually sitting on a dragon, because if you look at the body of this dragon, it's a turtle. So again, this is the most auspicious thing that you could have in Chinese culture. You have a dragon, which is the symbol of emperors. You have the symbol of longevity in this turtle here, and yet you also have the symbol of his own home culture, which is his elephant. And they built this statue of what seems, let me respectfully see what it's made out of. Okay, wow, this is pure iron here. This is not any type of polymer or plastic. This is pure iron that they made this out of, and this is to respect this great Indian man, this great Indian monk who trekked all the way from India to modern day China, to modern day Luoyang, to modern day Song Mountain to spread the gospel. So this is the 4th hall, and it's dedicated to him. Now, when I come up here and I look at this 5th and final hall, I did a round and I saw that those doors are closed, both on the left, on the right and the left. Okay, I checked out that those doors are both closed. So this is the last hall, the last Buddhist hall here, and this is extremely important because you see the big 4 letters up there. Let me zoom in. Each one, 西方圣人. So what that means is this is the worship, the great Buddha, one of the great Buddhas from the West. And what is considered the West at that time? Well, the West at that time is not America, nor is it Europe. The West at that time is India. So when you're coming here and you're seeing this and you say 西方, well, that's associated now with Europe, When people in China say 西方, they're talking about Europe, they're talking about America, Canada. But here, during the Northern Wei, during the Tang Dynasty, the 西方 is actually where they went. The great monk went and got the scriptures of what is today Chinese Buddhism. That came from India. So this hall is dedicated to the great Buddha from that part of the world. This shows you the great relations that China and India enjoyed in antiquity. The two countries, the influence that not only did India have on China, but perhaps through the Silk Road, the influences that China has also had on India. Two great historical civilizations with a interconnected culture. And this right here is a sign of respect from the Chinese people to the great Buddhism that spread from India. And you can see here this hall from architecturally, I don't know how to quite explain it. This is unique, but it's not, I can't quite see the roof, but this should be also, again, Qing Dynasty architecture, Qing Dynasty style, smaller roof pillars, roof joints. Okay, I'm going to do a quick sweep. And I'm going to stop here because out of respect, there are large Buddha statues in there. I don't want to film inside, but this right here is the last and final hall before we make it up to the mountain. As we make our way out from the 5th hall, we're now walking downstairs and we're leaving the Shaolin Temple because we now need to make time and go up the mountain of Mount Song. I wanted to say that in the 5th hall, there were actually Ming Dynasty murals inside, all along the wall, left, right, back. There were Ming Dynasty murals all painted. However, the painting, due to exposure to oxygen and moisture, had began to fade, so some of the colors had become lighter than what the Ming Dynasty artists meant it to be. But the reason I didn't film it is because out of respect, again, to the Buddha, I don't want to film inside. However, I also got to leave something to your imagination so that maybe one day you find it worthy to come here to Luoyang, to Henan Province, and see it for yourself. But this has been an amazing place to visit. Again, for me, it's more of a childhood dream. I've seen plenty of temples in China, but this is definitely about maintaining and fulfilling a childhood dream of mine to come here and see this temple. I've always thought of Shaolin Temple when I was a boy as a place where people fought, practiced martial arts, practiced discipline, beat up the bad guys. But now that I've actually been here, I realize that this is a place where people worship, where people have discipline, where people pay their respect to a religion that spread from India to China many hundreds of years ago. So that's something I learned today, that this place, I mean, when I was walking around, and I'm sure you could see from the footage, we didn't actually see many monks walking around, throwing punches in the air, throwing flying kicks, doing the monkey style kick, doing the scorpion style. I didn't see any of that. This is an actual temple. This is a serious religious location, and I realized that as soon as I walked in. So this is the reason why I had to be very mindful about what I filmed. Now, here's the plan. Let's look at the time. Take a look at this. Can you see this? It's almost 12:30. We haven't had a thing to eat, so we're gonna try to find something to eat. But we do want to climb this mountain, and then we're gonna take the tram downwards if time permits. So we're gonna make our way, continue ahead towards the top of the mountain and see what is going on. That's what we need to do. Let's keep going. Let's make it to the top of the mountain. And do it all in one day. So I must say, today we left the hotel quite early, 8 o'clock in the morning. By the time we got here, 9:30, close to 10 o'clock. So I want to think that we didn't waste any time, but given that it's already 12:30, it makes me think that this place, the thought is starting to creep into my head that I may have to take this cable car up instead of climbing. So we'll have to see what's going on, because if I take it up, then do I want to come down, walk my way down? I have to manage my time. So all this is unknown. I gotta keep walking. I'm gonna get to the entrance of the mountain, and let's see how we're going to plan the rest of our day. Let's keep going. Alright, we're making a brief stop at this sign here. Back there is where the Shaolin Temple is. We've completely exited the grounds there, and we're trying to make our way to the ropeway area, but this is eventually what we're trying to end up today. Right here, Sanhuangzai at the very bottom. That's what we're trying to end up. As you can see, that's over 5 kilometers away, and it's going to be up the mountain. So 5 kilometers, that's over 3.5 miles that we have to walk up the mountain in order to get here. So based on what we understand, this is going to take at least 3 hours to get up there, or we could take the ropeway. But first, this is the key thing that we need to see here today, the pagoda forest. This is the largest pagoda forest in the entire world. It commemorates the various monks and the various travelers who've come here, who are buried here. All these pagodas are individually carved. It's the largest formation, the largest pagoda forest in the entire world, and we're going to see it. And also, now it's almost lunchtime. It's past lunchtime, actually. We need to make a decision about whether or not we're going to take the cableway, because our original plan was to walk up there, but there's been so much to see that our time is so limited that we may have to take the cable car up. We're now standing in front of the pagoda forest. I've learned that there are over 248 pagodas in total, and each one of them commemorates a monk who once lived here at the Shaolin Temple. And what's so important here, and before I say that, in layman's terms, this could almost be considered a graveyard. This is basically a graveyard where some of the most preeminent, some of the most important people who've lived at the Shaolin Temple, they're buried here and they're commemorated here. You used to actually be able to go through these fences. This fence didn't exist, and you could take a stroll around the grounds, but what they've done is they've made this a nationally protected site ever since 1996. So we no longer can go inside, so we'll just have to see and pay our respect from the outside. Now, what's so unique and special about this place? First, the people that they commemorate. All the people who've had a hand in building Shaolin Temple, in upholding the traditions here and spreading its teaching. But more, also, just as importantly, you have to realize that this is the largest pagoda formation, the largest pagoda forest in the entire world. And what's significant about that is you have pagodas. They're here, they're called stupas, S-T-U-P-A, stupas, that are from different dynasties in China. So this is almost like a living catalog of buildings from the Tang dynasty, stupas from the Tang dynasty, from the Song dynasty, from the Ming dynasty. And these are things that are very, very difficult to find anywhere else in China. You find one, it's an archaeological discovery, let alone finding 248. And you can see extremely well preserved. And I can see even in the back,
if you look in the back, there's a scaffolding there that's working on one of the stupas. So they're continuously working on maintaining and improving the condition of these stupas to make sure that they can be seen for generations to come. But also another thing that's very unique is that in traditional Chinese burial, you would think of headstones like this. But here, you're actually getting towers, pagodas, stupas that look like this. And that is the predominant architectural shape, tongue twister, architectural shape that you see here. Okay, and now these look to be a bit more modern built, but these are the majority of the buildings here, and this is why it's called the pagoda forest. So that's very, very unique and very, very different from places, from forests, from different places of worship that you see in other parts of China. Just the different towers that are spread around here. Extremely unique, extremely unique. So we need to conserve time here. We pay our respect. I'm going to walk around a little bit more to get a different shot, a different view, but we need to continue to make our way up the Song Mountain. Let's go. Here's a view from directly in front of the pagoda forest. Again, they may all look identical, the shape, but each one of them is commemorating a monk who passed away here, who once lived here at the Shaolin Temple. And they all vary in height. They vary in height and they vary in sizes. So I wonder if it's meant to denote the status, the rank, the contribution that these monks had made to the Shaolin Temple when they were alive. Here's another view. It just shows you 248 in total. There are so many here. It won't be possible. And also, they've roped off this area as well. That's meant to protect these pagodas from human interaction, from people committing graffiti, carving their names into it. It's all about protection. And I like what they're doing here. They're using pieces of tree branches to keep these things held upright, to make sure that they're not being damaged, they're not tipping over. This is extremely smart. Okay, so to give you guys one more view, one more look, we're now going to start making our way up. I know I've been saying this whole time, but we really need to make our way up the mountain because time is limited. We want to make sure we can come down when the cableway is still running. We're standing in front of the cable entrance, the cable car entrance. We have to get a ticket. Now I finally have a good grasp of how this entire place is laid out. So first, this is how you can see. This is where things get very, very confusing. We saw a performance earlier today, but it turns out that's not even the main performance that this place puts on. And now they changed the time. There are only 3 performances today: 10:50, 2 o'clock, and 4 o'clock. So it's almost 2 o'clock now. We're going to try to make the 4 o'clock performance. This is a 30-minute show that's at the very, very top of this cableway. So this is where things get a little bit confusing because you see a performance earlier today and you're at the academy, you're at the school, so you think that's what you came for. But in reality, this is the main performance, the 30-minute performance at the top of the mountain. And we're here
Our original plan was actually to go over in that direction and climb up that mountain, but we realized it's going to take 4 hours one way, which means if we want to make it back home to Loyang today, we climb up, we say hello for 5 minutes, and then we got to take the cable car down right away, or else we're going to get left up at the peak of the mountain. Here, we have a very good introduction about how high we're going. This cable car is going to go for 16 minutes and it's going to travel almost a mile. So this is over a kilometer, almost a mile in distance. And we're going to get to the top of Songshan. We're going to get to the top of Mount Song. It's going to take us 16 minutes to get up there. So we have our tickets ready. This is going to be 60 yuan per ticket round trip. It's less than $10 to get you to the highest peak, which you'll have to climb. We're going to have to climb because we're going to get up here. We're down here, we're gonna get off here, and you can see we got more ways to go. So, this is almost a poetic way because I wanted to climb the whole thing. We're not gonna be able to do it given the time constraint, but at least I'll get to climb this stretch from here all the way up there. So let's go. Let's not delay anymore, and let's also try to catch the performance later today. Let's go. That was a map that's printed on the back of our cable ticket. I'm very excited. It's been a long time since I've been on a cableway, but this is also something else to know about being at a Chinese tourism site, especially a mountain. Almost always, they're going to have a cableway. Almost always. I can name with one hand the number of mountains I've been in China where there hasn't been a cableway that'll make it easier for you to climb to the top. Each of the 5 immortal mountains that I've been to so far, every single one has had multiple cableways. And this one should be no different. Let's go in. And see, this is why you come here during a non-peak season. Look at this. Nobody is here. There's no one here. Usually this would be packed with people with tours. Now there's no people. So let's quickly make our way in. Of all the cableways I've been to in China, this one is simpler. So you don't even see any windows here. You can reach out with your hand. And we're going up to the tallest peak in Song Mountain. However, it's important to know that of the 72 here, it's virtually impossible to do them all in one day, 1 week. It'll take you multiple weeks of hiking to do them all. And that just shows you the great size of the national parks in China. One of the things that living here and coming to all these different mountains and great archaeological and historical and natural sites is that how they differ from what we're used to in the United States, the national parks we're used to in the United States. For example, the parks that I've been to, you get an annual pass, you drive your car in, you stay at the lodge, maybe you stay a couple of nights and you take your time. You drive your car around, you see somewhere you want to go, you stop, you park your car, you climb, you do what you have to do. But here in China, I think most of these mountains are tailored to be a single day or multiple day experience, but it's not one that you could just drive your vehicle directly inside. So that's going to be the biggest difference between the experience of traveling into mountains and natural scenery, is because you just can't go and take your car and say, I'm gonna drive around Song Mountain, I'm gonna buy a ticket, I'm gonna drive around everywhere. It doesn't really work like that here. You have to follow the rules. You have to follow what the local guidance is, what the parks say. So usually what that means is you're shepherded from point to point. You're paying for individual tickets to get into monasteries, the temples, the cable cars like this. So I think that's one thing you really have to keep in mind if you're coming to China and you're really trying to enjoy natural scenery, is you might say, well, I'm just gonna rent a car. I have my US driver's license, or I have my English driver's license. I'm just gonna drive around at the park. There are places where you can do that. But each of the major famous mountains that I've been to that give you terrain like this, that has not been the case. So please keep that in mind. you may have to buy multiple tickets. You may have to keep those tickets. You have to keep those multiple tickets. And furthermore, you may have to be prepared to abandon your car at the parking lot and leave yourself to the shuttle buses, to the cableways, in order to explore the different parts of the mountain. So really, really important to keep that in mind. As you can see now, we're headed to the top. It'll take 16 minutes. And you know what I've noticed? Again, coming here during non-peak season on a weekday, you don't see any people coming down from the mountain. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't see anyone in front of me, nor do I see anyone behind me. I don't see anyone at all. So today, beautiful day, great weather. The air quality is awesome. It's amazing. So super, super excited to go up there. And we're still gonna get our hike in, but it just won't be as long as we originally intended. A piece of advice, if you really want to do hiking here at Song Mountain, you have to start early in the morning. If you're living here inside the mountain area, and when I say inside, I really mean at the foot of the mountain in one of the villages or towns that are close by, that town that we passed by earlier today, you still have to wake up super early. And if you're coming from the city of Luoyang, you should be prepared to wake up even earlier because you have an hour and a half of car ride in front of you. So you gotta get up at 6:30 in the morning and leave immediately after, because it's going to be an extremely long hike to go up there. And you're not just gonna go up there and say goodbye. You wanna go up there and you wanna see things, you wanna take photos, you wanna leave memories. So you gotta set aside time for that as well. So keep these in mind. We're cheating a little bit because this route would have taken us 3 hours to get up there. I think that's what the ticket lady was telling us because she was really eager to sell us the tickets. I think for us, it probably would have taken less time. But we do have this carpool person that's coming to pick us up later. So we don't want to keep them waiting. So we elected to take this round trip, 60 yuan, a $9 ticket to get up there and come down. That'll allow us to see the 4 o'clock performance. That'll allow us to still hike up to the mountaintop, to the peak, and spend our time wisely and get some sights in rather than just running around. So super excited for that. The highest peak that I saw on the map was almost 1,600 meters. So that's going to be almost 5,000 feet. 4,956 feet to be exact. That is the highest peak of the 72 that are here in Song Mountain. You can see now we're starting to get some mountain views and some mountain scenery developing. And this is what's really confusing because people will say, I'm going to Song Mountain. No, you're not really going to Song Mountain because a lot of the tours, what they do is they take you to Shaolin Monastery and you go home. Like, I don't see anyone that was with us earlier that are riding this electric cable car to go up. I don't see anyone. It's just us. So what they do is they'll come here. They won't even bother to go up the mountain. Many times they won't even bother to go up the mountain. They'll take you to the famous Shaolin Monastery and you'll go home back to Luoyang, or you'll go to the second part of your trip, which is usually combined with the Lomen Grottos. So that's not what we're going to do, because we came here to see the Song Mountain, the Zhongyue, the middle mountain, as much as we wanted to see the Shaolin Temple. Wow, my ear's popping. So now as I'm gaining in altitude, my ear's starting to pop. But as I was saying, we're here to see the Song Mountain. I'm not here if I didn't go to the highest peak. Yes, I'm cheating a little bit by taking this cableway. Yes, but we're going to see the view from the peak of the middle peak. From the middle peak of all of 72 peaks here, we're going to go to the highest one. So I'm super, super excited for that. Okay, now a bit more. Every time I go to a mountain, I try to understand if there are any indigenous animals or protected animals here. The people down there didn't seem to be too impressed with my question. They probably thought it was a stupid question. They did say that there are some wild pigs. Not many monkeys here, as you would see at some other parks. Not many monkeys here, but wild pigs, wild hogs, a leopard here or there, but nothing dangerous, no poisonous snakes that they're aware of. Just, wow, look at this terrain. This terrain is starting to develop. We came from all the way down there. You could probably barely see it now. It's a little dot down there. But this is a very, very worthy ticket. 60 yuan for this ticket. This is a very, very worthy ticket. Wow. This is beautiful.
we're about halfway up our cableway. Look at this tree here. This is the only one that I saw that has signs hanging. Wow, someone actually walked all the way up here to the middle of the cableway and placed good luck, good fortune, memorial tablets, memorial signs on that tree. As I'm coming up here, another interesting thought occurred to me. Imagine over 1,000 years ago, you're an emperor, or let's say you're Empress Wu Zetian, and you're coming here as the emperor. Now, obviously, you're not coming here by yourself. You're coming with a large imperial procession. You got people who are waiting on you. You got people who are carrying your things. Thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of soldiers, attendants are coming with you. But back then, they did not have nearly as sophisticated of a road system that's leading up to the mountain as we do today. And also, they didn't have the cableway, to say the least. So I was thinking to myself, how did the emperor actually reach the peak? Did he, or in the case of Wu Zetian, did she walk up here? Or are they being carried? Here's more, by the way. Here's more of these tablets here that are hanging on the tree. Did she walk up here? Or is she being carried on a donkey or a horse? Or is she riding in a hand-drawn by multiple people on their backs, a carriage of some kind, a vehicle, a pod of some kind? That's super interesting. I think about that every time I'm at one of these mountains with imperial history, with significant history, because I always ask myself, how exactly did these people get up here 1,000 years ago, 1,400 years ago, when even us today, with the better hiking roads that we have a very, very hard time getting up here? Something to think about. Here's another view. Wow. And I can see the other cableway running very far in the distance there. I'm not sure if you can see it on this camera, but that is the other cableway that leads to Three King, Three Emperor Village. And we elected not to go there today, after all, because we never made it to the south entrance to begin our day. That disrupted our plans. And furthermore, we found out that the tallest peak is actually on top of this cableway. So that's when we made a decision. Let's come here instead and catch the afternoon performance. But here, just look at this. This is just rows and rows of mountains, just as far as the eye can see, all covered in thick vegetation. Wow. Do you know anything that's equivalent to that in the United States? Because I've been to Yellowstone, I've been to a few other mountains, Lassen Volcanic in Northern California, and every time I look at those mountains, what strikes me is those mountains in the United States, you can climb certain parts of it, you can hike certain parts of it, but I've yet to see any famous mountain in the United States with a cable car like this, that you could go just take the cable car to the top, certainly a national park. Please let me know in the comments if you know any, and I'll be sure to check it out when I'm back in the States. But I think key thing, remember this is the difference between, I think, some of the climbing experiences in China and the United States, is that here you really are following some of these amenities, let's say, that they're providing you. If you're unable to do this climb, you could still come up to the peak, or very close to it at least, and see what former emperors, the view that they saw of the land over 1,000 years ago. That was the exit of the cableway. And this is how we get back. When it's time to go back, we come right back here and take the cable down. But here, you can see, we have another 1,800 meters, so that's about 1.8 kilometers, just over 1.2 miles. 1.2 miles of walking ahead of us up the mountain. And I also saw an interesting fact. The cable car that we just took, I now understand why the cable cars look, they didn't have windows. It was perfectly safe, but it certainly didn't look like the most modern cable car I've taken. That's because this is the first cable car ever
in the history of Henan Province. So it's got some age to it. Certainly doesn't compare to some of the newer ones that have been built, but it gets the job done. Okay, I just tried to read and understand what that said. And frankly, I'm a little bit confused, but this is the second ancestor temple. Right in front of it. Magnificent mountain view. Just absolutely magnificent. Wow. Okay, and same drill here. Being respectful to the temple, I'm going to take you on a quick tour. I'm going to keep my voice down. Show you what's inside. So this is the main hall ahead of us. Okay, this is not a large temple. Only one main hall here. Modern architecture where stone meets wood up there. Beautiful. We're not going to spend too much time here because we want to continue to climb to the very top. Let's continue our ascent. We're now walking up to this peak called Lianmo Tai, a place where they, I suppose once they practice magic, could that be what it means? Here's a great view ahead of us. That's what it means when you say 72 peaks, because I can already count a number of them. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this just goes to show you that, and certainly I don't see anyone hiking. I do not see anyone hiking at any point. It is beginning to dawn on me that this Song Mountain experience is totally different. It's totally different from some of the other 5 and more mountains that I've been to. I've been to 4. This makes 4. There's one I haven't been to in Henan Province, but this one has given me a totally different experience. Because I remember when I went to Mount Tai in Shandong Province in Taishan, I mean, the climb was incredible. I climbed the whole way. I didn't take the bus. I didn't take the cable car up. I climbed the whole way. And there were many people who did the same thing. They also climbed the whole way. But here, I'm thinking like it's not even possible to climb all the way to the very top because the number just keeps getting worse and worse. Let me tell you what I mean by that. First person we see, she says, 3 hours after you leave the cable car to get to the very top. 3 hours. So hear that. 3 hours. The guy, we just talked to a monk in the temple we just saw. He said 5 to 6 hours. I mean, I'm afraid to talk to the next person. That guy's going to tell me 12 hours. I mean, the person after that is going to say, this is going to take you the whole day. So I'm like, it is starting to dawn on me that this is not a mountain, certainly the left side. Remember earlier today we mentioned we have the left side and the right side. It's starting to dawn on me that the left side is likely not for hiking unless you're just planning to camp here for the night. You have equipment, you're going to sleep here for the night. Or they have a hostel or an inn up there. It's just very, very difficult to imagine how you could do this climb. Even with a 16-minute cable car, there's a 3, 4, 5 hour hike ahead of you. Very, very hard to imagine. So we're going to keep going. Hello, 你好，你好。
人说太棒。
So that guy just paid me a little compliment. Appreciate that. But okay, so you can see here's the cable car. We're going to be Here's the cable car schedule. So we should still be in this season. We're not quite in winter yet, but still we're certainly not in the summer either. So we got to make our way down here by 6:30 p.m. That's something to keep in mind. All right, let's keep going up. So yeah, that's what I'm like. I think you remember earlier in this video I kept saying I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea where I'm going. I'm not being humble here. That's because I know mountains. I know tourism places in China. I mean, they are massive. They are massive, and there are layers and layers of boats you take, cable cars you take, car you park, you take the shuttle. And these are all good because it keeps you very, very safe, and it keeps you organized. You don't have to freestyle. You never worry about getting lost because this has been essentially turned into a national park facility. It's not wild. Like, you can't just wander in here without a ticket. But a downside to it is you do have to follow their schedule. Imagine if we're not done by 6:30. What do? Do we sleep here for the night? Do we find a temple here at night and sleep here? That's possible. Many temples in China, they offer you a place to sleep. They offer you lodging and they offer you vegetarian meals. So it's possible to stay up here for the night. I'm sure it is, especially if you bring your own camping equipment. But is that something that you really want to do? If you're living in a hotel and you're nearby in the city of Luoyang, are you really willing to abandon your hotel room and sleep here in a tent? Perhaps that's what you want to do, but make sure you come prepared because the temperature differences between what's at these peaks versus what's down there could be 10, 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So keep that in mind. Whew, I'm getting winded. I am getting winded. Okay, left is up. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. I'm not here to quit. I'm here to keep going. Let's go. A very nice viewing platform here. Whew, you don't even need a drone for this. You stand here. Whew, you see that temple here? 你好, 你好. Wow, beautiful. Beautiful. This is just absolutely beautiful. And I must say, this is where the contrast is starting to stand out between Song Mountain, Mount Song, and some of the other mountains I've seen. This is where the contrast is starting to stand out. Here's what I mean by that. This place reminds me of Wutaishan, of Mount Wutai, Wutai in Shaolin Province. That's what this place reminds me of. Endless mountain ranges as far as the eye can see in either direction. Even over there, look at that. Endless. Some of the other places I've been to have a similar feeling, but nowhere near as dramatic or expansive, encompassing. So this is starting to dawn on me that you are not going to do the entire park in one day, in 1 week. You're going to follow their prescribed route, which will continue to go up. Enough resting here. You're going to follow their prescribed route, and then you hope to get to the highest point. I'm still holding out hope that I can catch the 4 o'clock performance and make it to the very top. Let's keep going. See, look at how narrow this is. This is only fit for one person, so you can see. Even here, getting off the cableway, some of this hike is difficult. My ear is also popping. This just goes to show you my question earlier. How did the ancient emperors do this? Like, look at that. That was a narrow little road path that was laid here by workers. Was that available 1,000 years ago? Did they have something similar? Did they have handrails like this? How did they make it to the top of the mountain to perform their worship, to perform their ceremonies? I don't even understand how it's possible. Whew. Gotta stay in good shape. Guys. Whew. Get my daily exercise in. Whew, this is excellent. Keep going. Again, a fantastic day. I'm also gonna try to fly my drone up here. Man, this is amazing. More walking ahead of me. But let me show you the view here. Beautiful. And if you see up further in that distance, that should be the small town that we passed through in order to get to Song Mountain. That should be it. So if you are planning, if coming to Song Mountain is on your key bucket list when you're coming to Henan Province, you say, I have to do it, whether you're Chinese, local, or you're an American, you're English, whatever. Perhaps you should stay closer to the mountain and waste less time transporting yourself from Luoyang City to here. That's something to think about. What kind of an experience do you want? I'm not staying there, but I may be in the future if I'm coming back for a multiple day trip, which is becoming evident. That's what it's going to take to fully explore Song Mountain. Wow, look at that peak. So what we're trying to get to, perhaps, I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to make me do here, but I'm here. See, look ahead of me. I'm here at this path. You see that thing ahead of us here? You see that peak ahead of us? I think that's what we're trying to get to, during which I gotta traverse first down and then up again. Beautiful, let's do it. Let's do it.
要不你坐上面吧，我拿你的相机帮你拍一下。来，等了这么半天了，多好啊！
哇！
要不是同行的我得让你照一张啊，这是同行。
This right here is Phoenix Peak. This is Phoenix Peak.
往前面坐。
Hey, look at that. That's the sign.
再往前面来一点，坐那窝里面。
Songshan, Song Mountain, Shaolin Temple. Wow. We've got to be right now at least 1,300 meters above sea level. About 4,000 feet. I think I got another 1,000 feet to go. Let's keep going up. This is Phoenix viewing platform. And what they like to do here in China is they'll have a photography service set up. They'll charge you. They'll have a photographer sitting here. They'll be here for the whole day. And they'll take some beautiful pictures for you and they'll print it out for you right away. And they'll send you the digital version to your message, text message, or to your WeChat. You see that at every Chinese mountain, every single one. They know all the best spots to take the photos. All right, beautiful. Hopefully you guys have a nice view of this. I put on a wide angle lens on this camera. Hopefully have a nice view. But we gotta keep making our climb. We can't stop here. Let's go. As I'm sitting on these steps and just reflecting, taking in the views, I think I now have a full grasp of this entire national park, how long it would take to get to the peak, what steps you have to go through to get here. I began the day today without a full understanding at all what I was headed into. I just know that Song Mountain is one of the most famous mountains in all of China. It's one of the most historically significant. After spending the whole day at Shaolin Monastery, Shaolin Temple, climbing, taking a cable car, I'm starting to understand how this place works. So here where we're sitting is, we were just here at the Phoenix platform. And what we can do at this point is, even though it's later in the afternoon, we could hike
to the very top, which is somewhere out there. Okay? That'll take us anywhere between what one person says is 3 hours and another person says is 5 hours. So by the time we get there, it'd be about 7 to 8 o'clock in the afternoon, in the evening. And you see that tram ahead of me? There's another cable car ahead of me. That's the one that takes you to Three Emperor, Three King village area, where you then have to do another hike. So this just gives you an idea of how large, how unbelievably massive this entire national park is. I spent the whole day here. I left the hotel 8:30 in the morning, and I've covered less than 5% of even what tourists are able to access. Never mind the 72 peaks. Just what the tourists are allowed to enter, I've only covered less than 5%. Because you remember earlier today, I mentioned we're on the left side of the mountain. We're on the left west side, western half of the mountain, where Shaolin Temple is one of the key highlights. We haven't even touched the right half. We haven't even touched the eastern half. And that's not going to happen today at all. What's also not going to happen is we're not even going to have a chance to go take that tram down there to go to the Three Emperors Peak. It's a lower peak, it's a village, but it's another area that we can explore. It doesn't have as much historical value as some of the places here, but it's a natural scenery, and also it shows you how local people living in the mountain, they've lived for hundreds of years. So my biggest conclusion at this point, sitting here and reflecting and understanding this route, is number one, you have to understand if you're coming to Song Mountain, are you coming here for scenery or are you coming here for history? If you're coming here for history, that's not even a good way to describe it. Now that I say it, I'm checking myself, because there's history on the left side and the right side of the mountain, because you have the monastery, the Shaolin monastery on the left, and then you have additional monasteries on the right that have extreme historical values. And also there is an astrology tower from the Ming Dynasty that was built on the other half of this mountain. So if you're coming here for history, you can go to both sides. You can go to both sides, left or right. And maybe you spend a couple nights here at the town down at the foot of this mountain. Maybe you spend a couple nights here and you really take your time to explore this mountain for 4 or 5 days. So if you're coming for history, left or right side is okay. But if you're coming here to say, I want to get a good hike in, I really want to get a good, nice hike in, you could do what we did today. But maybe spend less time at Shaolin Monastery and then immediately take the cable car up here and head to the top. It'll take you between 3 to 5 hours, depending on how healthy you are, how well you are at climbing mountains. It'll depend on all these factors. But then you make it to the top, you come down here another 3 to 5 hours, and then you take the cable car down to the monastery. Or if you want to climb, you take that cable car across from us to go to the village, and then you climb down. So you descend the mountain from Three Emperor Village into the southern entrance. So we came in via the northern entrance, you descend via the southern entrance, provided your car is not parked at the northern entrance. So these are a couple of ways of coming here and visiting this place that I can think of. But frankly speaking, I mean, it's overwhelming just to think about how large this place is. Places you hear about, until you actually show up and see it, you don't even realize how large, how unbelievably difficult it is to navigate it all until you've shown up here. And this is the feeling I have. So as far as me here, this is what I've decided to do. There's a 4 p.m. performance. Down at the monastery here at the top of the mountain. 4 o'clock performance. That's going to be the last one of the day. We're going to go and see that performance. And what's going to happen is that we're going to see it, and then we're going to catch the last tram out. We're going to catch the last cableway before 6:30 out of the mountain. Because if we went up to the peak now, not even the main peak, just that extra peak across, that platform across from us, it would take us another 3 hours round trip. So we'll be spending the night here on the mountain by ourselves, because by that time the cableways will be completely stopped. So this should give you a very, very good idea. And I think this video very, very real. It really illustrates how, you remember that excitement that I had running in here in the Song Mountain, saying to myself, I'm going to climb all the way to the top. That enthusiasm came from a good place. I really wanted to get to the top, and I have been to the top of many mountains in China, but until reality meets you in the face head on, you realize, wow, time just didn't allow. Time just doesn't allow you to do some of the things that you want to do when you only have 1 day here or 2 days here. So, biggest takeaway from all this, if you want to see everything, even if you just want to see 50% of this mountain, plan at least 3 days. Plan 4 or 5 days. Plan that much time if you want to truly appreciate, or do a little bit at once, come back another year, come back another time, take another route, because that's just how expansive, how huge these places are. It's not possible to do it all in 1 day. There's no way this mountain can be done in 1 day. So keep this in mind. We're going to begin to make our descent from this peak, the Phoenix Peak, down to the performance, and we're going to catch that 4 p.m. performance. So let's go. All right, we made our way down from the Phoenix Hill, from the Phoenix Peak, and we're waiting for the show to start. So I think this is going to be a similar show to the one that we saw earlier today, a martial arts Shaolin show. And these are all kids. I'm seeing 8 kids here. They're really, really young. I mean, I think they're all students at the school downstairs, down in the hill, not downstairs, down in the mountain, down at the foot of the mountain. And they're here, they're gonna put on the last performance of the day for us at 4 o'clock. And then we're just gonna walk around a little bit more and take the cableway back down. So it looks like I'm not gonna be able to find a seat. All of them are taken, so I'll just stand here, get you guys a better view. But the show is about to start. As I'm heading down the mountain on the cableway, I'm reflecting on this performance I just saw. You see, the one in the morning, I left halfway through it so I can make my way a little bit before the other tour groups so I can get up to the mountain quicker. But this one, I caught the whole show. And it made me reflect, and it made me think about, first, take my hat off to these kids, these 9 kids, for spending their childhood here at Shaolin Temple and dedicating themselves to learning martial arts, to learning discipline and performing for us. And I remember one of the kids, on his head, he had a big welt on his head, on the right side of his head, a huge welt. So I know the training that they have to do every single day is not easy and is prone to accidents sometime. And I remember when I was a kid, when I was in school, I think about the training that they have to do and what it means to actually graduate and become a fully certified member
a graduate, I thought about, maybe there's a parallel to be drawn here. Maybe there's a parallel between all the training that they have to do and all the performances that they have to put up for performers, for us to see, for their teachers to see. And I thought, there's some kind of parallel, in a sense, in life of having to cross these bridges, having to cross these difficult moments, these tough trainings before you can get to the finish line. I think about when I was in school, I had to go to AP classes, I had to do community service. And now even kids as young as high school, they have to do summer internships. They have to jump through all these hoops to get their high school diploma. And then it's about getting into college. What college do you want to go to? Do you want to go to a state school? Do you want to go to Ivy Leagues? Life feels to me like you have to jump through one hoop to the next. And something about these kids spending their time in the middle of these mountains, something about it just seems so serene to me. But yet, at the same time, they're not immune to the trainings of life that we had to do in the classroom. I'm not sure if they're spending as much time in the classroom learning books, but I do know that for many of these kids, when they get older and they graduate, they're going to go and become performers all throughout the country, and a very lucky few of them will become actors, or they may become supporting actors, or they may become stunt doubles. But I know the training that they're getting now is very, very foundational and crucial to the life that they're going to have in the future. And it's one that you're going to learn some from a very early age, discipline, toughness, working together as a team. You see the level of coordination between all those team members, knowing how to work with each other, knowing how to get along with each other, live with each other. If I compare the maturity levels of these kids down there with some of the kids that I know, maybe they're more mature in some ways, maybe they're less mature in some ways, but I know that they are going to get to the finish line one day, and I hope that they all get to I hope they all get to their dream. I hope they become the full martial artists that they trained their entire childhoods for. Shave their head, go through tough training, not able to eat as much meat as I'm sure a normal kid can have. So I take my hat off to them. Thanks to them for putting a great performance on. If you are coming here, remember, it is very confusing. To me, it's very, very confusing at first what the performance was about, where was it going to be. Now that the day is coming to a close, I understand that there's a show at the academy downstairs, down at the foot of the mountain. I keep saying downstairs, at the foot of the mountain, at the academy, at the school. And then there's another one here at the top of this tram, at this cableway. It has been an exhausting day, I'm not gonna lie. It's been an exhausting day. We're one of the few people that are headed down. Oh, I just see a guy. He's actually walking down. He's hiking down on this track right here. Can you see this track? This is a very, very rough track. And he's walking down pace by pace. Oh, it's not just him either, it's two people. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow, look at that. Wow. These are real hikers. Wow, these are real hikers. It's a couple. Wow. That's a real hike. All the way down there. Oh my goodness. Now I feel kind of ashamed sitting here in this cable car. Anyway, the musings, the reflections of a man descending Mount Song. So today we check off Mount Song, Song Mountain here in Henan Province. We made it to about 5 to 10% of this entire place. But I promise you, we tried our best. We tried our best to narrate what's down there, the pagoda forest, the Shaolin Temple. We really tried our best. But this is, wow, there's actually still people coming up. There's still people coming up.
In the next episode, we never quit, returned to Song Mountain, and finally ascended to the peak. but not before we saw the oldest man-made tower in all of China. Follow us on this journey as we make it through the heart of this magnificent and beautiful country.